headlines pile in all weekend long. I stayed off of line for the most part, but every time I took a peek at news, I was shocked at how many articles I saw that different outlets, outlet after outlet, including the president, including economists across heads of many sectors, demanding that Jerome Powell knock it off and start to cut rates. At minimum, at bare minimum, he needs to at least stop hiking rates. And the fascinating thing that we have to come back and look at is that all of these marketplaces, right? You take housing, for instance. The top headline in housing last week, one of them was that a record number of buyers, according to Fannie Mae, said it is a horrible time to buy. And a lot of people that are in the industry are chirping on their social media accounts with the standard fare of Warren Buffett says that you need to be risk-taking when everybody's fearful, and you need to jump in when everybody's scared. That's the time you make your purchase and you got to move. And I scratch my head and I say, many of these folks I respect, I love, they're my peers, and I go, do you not understand that it is an affordability thing? It's not that they're fearful. It's not an emotional response for the majority of the marketplace. So when Fannie Mae interviews buyers and they say, I can't get in the marketplace, it means they're locked out because prices are so high in the face of a 7 to 8% interest rate. They can't do business. So now we have this move across the entire industry that says, the Fed needs to really fire this thing back up. We need this thing to inflate higher. It's not enough that our housing rates and the cost of homes across the marketplace saw 70 to 90%, some cases plus 100% increase in a matter of 2 or 3 short years. Doesn't matter. The real trick to all this is you need to jack those rates back down and fire everything back up, stoke the economy. And I'm sitting there going, to me, right? Because when you look at the Fed, there is a tightrope act that must be walked, okay? There's this idea that on one hand, if I jack the rates up, I'm going to crash labor, I'm going to crash wages, I'm going to crash the percentage of people being unemployed, okay? Going to make that really painful, okay? In order to bring down the cost of everything so that the middle class can survive. And then on the other side of this is the idea that he can basically lower rates, pour gas on the fire, raise prices even higher. Now, I'm sitting there and I think there's a cascade of information online. There's plenty of anecdotal evidence at bare minimum where you can go out and watch videos of people every weekend saying, hey, where can I get a 40-hour-a-week job where I can survive, right? And when you think about the theory of most of Wall Street and housing experts, the top of the housing chain, saying we need to pour the fuel back on, we need to fire, we need pro-housing agenda from the Fed. We need to think pro-housing. The idea that we need to raise it even hotter in the face of the fact that there's people still posting that Big Macs cost them $20 and it's not 20, right? It's 16 or 15 or whatever. There's people saying, I went to Chipotle and my bowl cost $19 and change. Okay, yes, I got guac, but this is way too much. Okay, so the reality that we can now return to fueling those prices that are already baked in really high, we should lock that in, cease all pain, and move forward from this point. That's essentially tantamount to what's being described. Let me show you the headlines from this weekend and a couple that are actually before that. Federal Chair Powell pushed back on Friday, and this, by the way, was a week prior, but he pushed back that Friday, a week ago, that market expectations were aggressive, that interest rate cuts were ahead. Market expectations, he said it would be premature to conclude with confidence that we have achieved sufficiently restrictive stance or speculate on when policy might ease, okay? So, however, the remarks gave some credence in the idea that the Fed is at least done hiking rates, okay? So a week ago, we're like, okay, maybe we're done hiking rates. And now it's more of the same. So this was over the weekend. Jay Powell under pressure to set out plans for US interest rate cuts. And further in the article, it goes on to say that the marketplace really looks at what he's done and feels, hey, mission accomplished. You've really done what you should have done, and you can relax now. Further, Biden, I guess, over the weekend, this was covered by Bloomberg, and people get all pissed off when I cover politics or political positions being brought into the economic narrative, but this is the point of what I'm talking about. Look at this point that Biden made. Biden says job numbers should deter more Fed rate hikes. So Biden said on Friday the job report showed the labor market remains resilient. And Biden, to his credit, did not say that they should cut. He just said, hey, maybe there's not going to be more hikes. And a lot of people were upset because that remark, kind of drew him from, what I guess previously Biden has always said, I'm not going to mess with the bankers. I'm not going to mention things what the central bank should be doing. And now he's saying, hey, look, why don't you guys ease up? The fascinating thing is that the Biden, and I mentioned this, I think either over the weekend or last week, is the Biden administration has made a lot of adjustments to the job numbers. So the numbers that they actually were presented, if they were presented accurately in the first case, there's actually an argument made that he's actually raised rates higher based on the data he got. So it's fascinating now. They're like, hey, don't hike numbers. And again, Redfin, you'll remember I came out and I did a prediction video last week. Redfin came out and made a prediction saying Biden's going to be hurt in the election specifically due to housing. And again, this isn't an economic statement or a political statement. Rather, people are going to get ticked off every time I mention politics. Honestly, I don't care. I'm bringing you the news. Like, I'm not standing on any position. I'm not for or against Biden. I'm going to call like it is no matter who the politician is. Even on that Redfin prediction saying that Biden's going to be worse off for actually having a worse housing market, I don't agree with that. I mean, I think the housing market is what it was. I don't think anybody's pinning particularly the housing market onto Biden. It's just super expensive. It was that way when he took office. It was on that path when he took office. And I'm not saying that pro-Biden, okay? So everybody relax. But go in the comments and feel free to share if you think it's Biden's fault or you think he did a great job with it. I don't care. It's not my point. But take a look at this. This is Logan Matashami, okay? He is actually Housing Wire. It's a major online publication for the housing and mortgage industry. He's their lead analyst. In fact, he's on CNBC quite a bit. Listen to what he just said.
Data line to a degree, but we haven't broken yet. You don't need to break the economy, right? Give the economy a fighting chance. Some people...
He's saying, don't go any further. You're going to break the economy if you keep this up.
People would already say it's too late, right? Eventually, we're going to have a job loss. Even if that's the case, you don't need to make it a big, bad job loss anyway, right? So we've entered a new stage. It's time for us to now declare war on the Fed.
It's time for us to declare war on the Fed. By the way, the title of the video is, and this just came out, it's time for the Fed to be pro-housing again. So pro-housing means that don't stay on the course of possibly taking a wrecking ball to high prices of everything. Okay, and I'm not just talking about high prices of the house. I'm talking about Chipotle bowls and everything else that's insanely high. And the idea that he would dismantle the cost of wage growth that's been there, dismantle high price that's trenched in, basically freeze everything where it's at, and let's let well enough alone. Okay, it's not growing as fast as it was, so just relax, dude. And ultimately, he said, let's wage war. Let's get this narrative going that says, enough's enough. We need to, basically slow things down in terms of, how much recession might be coming as a result of what they've already done. Check this out. This was just a couple weeks prior. This was the Mortgage Bankers Association, which is a huge member-led organization of mortgage professionals. Mortgage professionals, as you know, are having a hard time because people they're not applying for mortgages. And I kind of want to jump ahead. I thought I had it queued up. In fact, I do. Here it is right here. Let me show you why mortgage bankers aren't doing great. Look at this. On buying conditions, you can see it right in the middle of the page here. Look at the most recent update. Now, this came out a week ago from Fannie Mae, where they do a common poll on a monthly basis, and it's in the tank. Buying conditions are terrible. 40% said it's actually a bad time to sell a home, which doesn't add up to me. Apparently, it's a bad time to do either, according to the market. Look at this, mortgage rate outlook sentiment. According to those they polled, they believe mortgage rates will be higher. That's decimated the real estate industry. You're going to see that in a sec, because one of the linchpin finishes I want to do, particularly this video, is I want to go over the job report from Friday, show you where the jobs were gained and lost. You're going to see the real estate industry is absolutely suffering. So look what the Mortgage Bankers Association CEO said. Normally, I talk about the remarkable work you did to the LOs, the loan officers, and the professionals that were in attendance. And I look at what we did on your behalf. He says, but this year I'm not upbeat. Frankly, I'm upset. To be clear, you did all the right things at 12 months. You are heroic. But by the same token, let's further down. Let's talk about what he said about Washington, i.e. the central bankers, the Federal Reserve raising the rates. Washington is pushing you and our economy in the wrong direction, and no one will suffer more than American families, especially minority, low income, and first time homebuyers. Yeah, you know what? Because if we keep Chipotle bowls at $19 an hour, that's absolutely phenomenal for low income and minority families. Maybe they'll never experience a Chipotle bowl again. The reality is like they're making about housing and the fact of like and I think some of this narrative is like they have to give some meat to the people that pay these people. The guy who a second ago said, we need to wage war on the Federal Reserve or on the Fed, and then this mortgage, they make their money based on membership recruitment. So they have a lot of people that have to get trumped up and excited about what they have to say every week. And so that's what happens. But the bizarre thing is that how do we placate the idea, or how do we kind of swallow the notion that locking in this massive run up in price? So the idea that all the Fed needs to do in this tight wire app they have, they just need to cool things on how fast it grows, but not work on the fact that it's wholly unaffordable at every level. It's like, do you not understand that the cost of everything is at the breaking point still? So you slow down how fast it grows. Do you want to stare at a jar of mayonnaise at Publix? Okay, this happened to me last week. I bought a jar of Miracle Whip. Okay, in my household, everybody eats mayonnaise, but I eat Miracle Whip. Okay, I like the tangy zip of Miracle Whip, and I go because it's just me. That bottle might last like 8 months. Like, thankfully, it's like processed food. It never goes out of date. But the last time I went to Publix to get it was over $8, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, this is insanity. Most of the meat I eat is insane. Like, I eat red meat. I eat a lot of red meat. Okay, I'm a steak and potatoes guy, and I have to like check what's going on in pricing because sometimes, I'll be honest. I eat a lot of steak, but I eat poor man's steak. I eat sirloin. Like I don't eat New York and ribeye like every week because I eat a lot of red meat. Okay. But when you do that, you got to watch it because sometimes the price will go from $7 a pound or $9 a pound to 12 or 13 bucks a pound. It'll go to 50. So it'll fluctuate. I've seen at Publix, and if you're from Florida, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about Publix, you'll see meat on the shelf go to $25 and $30 a pound. And this isn't like fly it overnight, like, aged prime Wagyu beef. This is just the stuff you find at Publix. And you realize like that people that are sitting here drum beating about what they want to see from the Fed, they must be vastly disconnected from what people can afford, what they are feeling in terms of their ability to maintain a functioning cost of living. It's just insanity to me. But let's take a look at this. This is the last thing I want to show you with regards to the job numbers last. We're going to go sector by sector. I'm actually going to walk you through every single area of the economy, who gained, who lost, where the jobs go. But one of the things I want you to see up front, on Friday, this was a rewrite. Wolf Richter, by the way, this is Wolf Street. If you guys are ever familiar with or you want economic data, sometimes they're doing housing, they're sometimes doing auto. Excellent blog that I read, but most of their charts I'm pulling from their website. I just want to give them a little credit for that. But on Friday, Wolf Street discussed how wages surged for 3 months in a row. At an annualized rate, wages are up 5%. Folks, we're talking about all these different industries talking about we need to cut rates. We need to cut rates. When are we going to cut rates? When? It's not when, it's why. Why are you cutting rates? Why do you cut rates when wages are running higher and hotter 3 months straight? Then you have the actual unemployment rate drops on Friday. For all of you that maybe aren't staring as close as me, the actual job report, I believe, dropped by 0.1%. So it was at, I believe, 3.8 drops to 3.7. So take a look at where all the jobs went. All right, let's start with private sector. First is construction. All types of construction, from single family housing to highways, we've been amazed by eye-popping boom in construction spending on factories. Overall, employment hits an employment all-time high. Okay, there's 8.3 or 8.03 million new all-time high. 1 month growth in construction, 2,000 jobs. 3-month run was 36,000 jobs. Now, we know in housing, there's no shortage of new construction work. Like I told you this, I've been reporting this. I've been saying, hey, look, if you're selling a resale home against new builders, they're pulling permits like crazy. They're not afraid. They're doing a ton of incentives to get these houses moving, and they're building them still. Take a look at this. Manufacturing. Employment had plateaued for months after the post-pandemic boom, but October just got hit by the strikes in the auto industry. In November, many of those jobs came back. So you have total employment in manufacturing is at 13 million. You had 1 month plus jobs, 28,000, okay? And then 3-month growth was at 4,000, okay? Jobs in manufacturing, look at this. Mining and logging. This chart goes back to 2014. All others go to 15 because this sector had recent employment peak in 2014, which is when the biggest coal mines began restructuring in bankruptcy court and shed a lot of workers after the collapsed price of U.S. natural gas had caused the price of coal to collapse. While a power generator shifted from coal to natural gas, a trend that started in 2000 more recently was renewables. Fracking, I believe. Take a look at this. Fracking has obviously impacted this, is my point. Take a look at this. Total employment rather, 644,000 jobs, but 1 month growth was 11,000 jobs against a 3-month growth of 0. Take a look at this. Jobs in mining and logging, millions of workers. The largest sector by employment includes professional, scientific, and technical services, management of companies, enterprises, administrative support, so on and so forth. Some of the tech and social media companies are included. Others are information below or in other categories. So in this entire sector, 23 million jobs. 1 month growth was minus 9,000 and 3-month growth was minus 24,000. So the sector is down, okay? Professional and business services also down on a 3-month trend. Information is a small sector that includes web search portals, data processing, data transmission, information services, software publishing, motion picture and sound recording, broadcasting, including the internet, telecommunications. Some of the tech and social media companies with big layoff announcements are included here. So you had a 1 month growth of 10,000. You had 3-month growth of down 15,000 with a total employment in that sector of 3 million jobs. Okay, so that's information. Cruising down to a very vibrant sector, healthcare and social assistance. So total employment's 21.8 million, which is a new all-time high. The 1 month growth was plus 93,000. The 3-month growth was plus 254,000. Retail trade includes workers at brick and mortar. Let me remove this up real quick. Retail trade includes workers at brick and mortar retail stores, malls, auto dealers, grocery stores, gas stations, and other locations such as markets. It does not include tech-related jobs of e-commerce operations. It does not include drivers, warehouse employees. Big portion of the sector has been under heavy pressure from e-commerce operations. You have total employment here, 15.5 million. They were down 38,000 on a 1 month growth line, and they were down 41,000 on 3-month growth line. So you have jobs in retail trade. And then further down, leisure and hospitality sector, restaurants, lodging, resorts, has a hard time hiring as working conditions are often tough, including split shift, weekend and evening work, and pay can be relatively low. So total employment here is 16.8 million, plus 40,000 for 1 month and plus 158,000 across 3 months. And again, here again, job, leisure, and hospitality. This would be that's the actual chart shown here in the graph. But let's move down. Financial activities, including, excuse me, move this real quick. Financial activities, transportation and warehousing, total employment, 6.7 million. 1 month growth, down 5,000. Same for the 3 month, it also down 5,000. Moving on. Wholesale trade, 6.1 million, up 8,000 in a single month, and the 3-month growth was up 35,000. Next down is arts, entertainment, and recreation. You have 2.5 million, eked out a new all-time high, plus 1,000 and plus 36,000 on the 3-month. Let's move down. Jobs in government. Okay, government's doing fantastic. It's good to know, right? Let's see what we have here. The spikes occur every 10 years when census taken. Total employment, 3 million, except for the census period's new all-time high. 1-month growth was 0, but 3-month growth is showing 9,000. Moving down, state governments. This includes education, such as state universities. Total employment is 5.3 million, and you have plus 17,000 1 month and plus 73,000 across 3 months. Education, so local governments, employment is dominated by education such as teachers. Pandemic, school teachers struggle with large-scale teacher shortages. Employment is still not back where it was before the pandemic. Let me move down a little bit more. And some school districts still struggle with teacher shortages. Total employment there, 14.7 million total. 1-month growth, 32,000, and that sector still accumulating a lot of jobs right now. The 3-month growth at 95,000.